Today, voters in Georgia's red-leaning 14th Congressional District will decide who will replace former GOP Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene. Here is what we know about the candidates. On the Republican side is Clay Fuller. President Trump endorsed him. He's a district attorney and Air National Guard colonel. Then there's Democrat Shawn Harris. He's a farmer, and retired Army general. Harris earned about 37% of the vote in Georgia's special election last month. Fuller won roughly 35%. Okay, I want to bring in CBS News Atlanta's Brian Unger, who is live from Rome, Georgia for us today. Brian, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it. I understand you have a special guest with you today.
Good afternoon. Yes, we had planned on just speaking to General Harris as he was walking here from one of the community centers here in South Rome, Georgia. This is considered the heart of the 14th. And Brigadier General Shawn Harris just happened to stroll up, and I said, we could not miss an opportunity to actually speak to you firsthand.
Yes.
The polls have been open from early this morning. We have been and seen lots of the polls. We've talked to a lot of the voters at the polls. How are you feeling about what you're seeing so far in terms of enthusiasm?
Yeah, we are very excited about the turnout that we're getting today. The reason why I'm standing in this parking lot with you, I just had a whole bunch of people from the community center walk down here to the polls with me, and now they're inside voting. And when they finish, they're going to go and tell other family members and bring them down. So we're very excited about not only the turnout here in Rome, but the turnout all over the district.
General Harris, do you feel that you can poll enough independents and poll a fringe of that Republican base that may be unsatisfied with the current administration and bring them over to your side? Or can you do that?
Yes, I know we can do that for a fact because we have already did it two now past elections. That's a proven fact. And if we wasn't doing it, the Republican Party would not be spending so much money against me, because if it was easy, they wouldn't spend the money. The reality of it is we can win this election today because this election is going to just be a flat-out turnout election, and we have the ground game to get people to the polls.
I want to ask you about this war in Iran. Because of your military service.
Yes.
You've served 40 years in the United States Army. You're a retired brigadier general. You led infantry in Afghanistan. The president this morning has
some very strong words.
He has, and I'm paraphrasing here, but essentially he would like to annihilate the civilization as a kind of like a warning to the regime there. Having served in combat so extensively, what is your take on these comments this morning?
Yeah, those comments are reckless. I think the president needs to understand or realize that his words truly mean something, not only here in the United States but around the world. I hope that cooler heads prevail today, and we never have to get to whatever's supposed to happen at 8 o'clock. Because today at 7 o'clock the polls close, but at 8 o'clock we could very well not be talking about who won this election. We could very well be talking about how did the United States escalate a war, and now we're actually going to have to put more people in. So that's my hope, is that cooler heads prevail, or that the president says, you know what, I'm going to do what I did the last 4 times. We get to that point, he changes his mind, and he changed the date for another 10 days. But we'll see what happens tonight.
Your predecessor, or presumably could be predecessor, Marjorie Taylor Greene, tweeted out something about calling for the 25th Amendment. Do you find this to be odd that you're sitting on the same side of the ideological fence with Marjorie Taylor Greene, the person you're trying to replace?
Yeah, you know, I ran against Marjorie Taylor Greene the first time, and pretty much Marjorie Taylor Greene and I the first time were on opposite sides of everything, and then all of a sudden the Epstein files became an issue. And as soon as the Epstein files became an issue, Marjorie and Donald Trump got into a nasty divorce, and that divorce is still going on. And from that, Marjorie Taylor Greene 2.0, her position started changing to health care. Her position started talking about the cost of living. Her position on the Epstein files is the same as mine. Her position on many other topics came more to my moderate Democratic side. So I'm just blown away that Marjorie Taylor Greene and I are aligned on many different things. But what I will say is this. I do not see Marjorie Taylor Greene giving me an endorsement. But what I will say is, as of right now, Marjorie Taylor Greene has not endorsed Clay. So that speaks volumes that it is Republicans in this district that are saying they are Republican, but the Republican Party has left them behind, and they're going to give this moderate Democrat a chance. When I win this, we're going to go to November, and if I don't produce, they're going to be able to fire me and hire somebody else. But I believe when they hire me tonight, they're going to be so pleased with my work that they're going to say, well, we want to keep this guy. I don't agree with everything he says, but he stands on his own 2 feet, and he's fighting for us here in Northwest Georgia.
General Harris, Republican Party official who I've spoken to in this district, in this county, in Floyd County, which is predominantly Republican. I think it's over 70% Republican. One person in the party who is an officer there told me that if you had an R in front of your name, you
would win all day. Yes, I know that for a fact. But the reality of it is the Republicans are the ones that came to my farm and actually asked me to run. And it was in that conversation that I realized they wanted me to run against Marjorie Taylor Greene in the primary. And I realized at that point they thought that I was a Republican. And I said to them, guys, I'm a Democrat. And it took about 2 minutes, and they said, we still want to support you. Later on, as time went by, many Republicans come to me on a daily basis and said, just change the D to R, you'll win all day. And I've said to them, guys, Donald Trump was a Democrat. He's a Republican now. And because he's continuously changed his position, you don't know where Donald Trump's going to be. So if we're going to have a relationship here in Northwest Georgia, we need to have a relationship of trust. You know where I stand on certain things, but you also know I'm a moderate Democrat. And I think if we can get people that's willing to reach across the aisle, Northwest Georgia will be better off. Because right now, many of the policies that are coming out of D.C. are not in favor of rural America.
General Harris, it also poses kind of a problem because there are party faithful people who live in this district, and they will not cross lines. A voter told me today that she would not vote for a Democrat ever unless Jesus came back to earth. And she said,
and he's coming.
And she said he's not coming because he's nonpartisan. Those were her words,
okay,
not mine. But do you worry about the dyed-in-the-wool party faithful, that they just won't break ranks?
Well, I would tell you it's always going to be that set of individuals that's wearing a blue shirt or red shirt. That's fine. What I'm talking to is individuals that says, look, the Republican Party that I knew used to care about physical responsibility. The Republican Party today, the president just gave us a budget for the defense budget that is unbelievable how high it is. That budget, if it passes, is not going to charge your grandkids. It will affect your grandkids' So the reality of it is they need to vote for somebody like me that's going to go to D.C. and push back, because Clay, like it or not, he sold his soul to Donald Trump. He cannot push back on the president. His vote is in the bag. With me, I'm a Democrat, but I'm not tied to the party. And because I'm not tied to the party, I can look at a bill and figure out what is best for Northwest Georgia and vote for the people of Northwest Georgia. That's the difference between me and anybody else that's running for something today.
General Harris, good luck.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you for coming to South Rome.
Our pleasure. Thank you. The polls here will be closing around 7 o'clock here, I believe, in the 14th district here in Rome. I have spoken to some of the Republican Party officials here who say that turnout here has been brisk, and that early voting, as far as they know and what numbers are showing, it says that early voting is leaning toward the Republican candidate, Clay Fuller. I'm Brian Unger, live from Rome, Georgia, in the heart of the 14th Congressional District in Georgia. Back to you.
Brian Unger, thank you so much for bringing us that conversation with General Harris.